Hey team, welcome to another video. A little bit of a departure today from our normal content, which we will get back to very soon. However, I've been spending a lot of time in Cyberpunk lately. Not 68 hours worth, but definitely over 40, which frankly, I can't believe I've spent 40 hours in this game already. But there are some things that I've learned along the way that I wish I would have known sooner. So that's why I'm making this video. And if you are watching it, hopefully you find some things that will help you too. Let's go ahead and get started. Alright, so first off, what has the experience been like so far? Are there bugs? Yeah, there's a few bugs. I'm playing on the PC version, and I understand that that's the best version to be playing on so far, and some folks have had issues with consoles, so on and so forth. However, I've not experienced any bugs that are really game-breaking. Most of it you can attribute these different bugs and little glitches to your cyberware malfunctioning, right? That's kind of how I've been role-playing through the little weird glitches and floating items and pop-in and weird little dialogue and audio issues. Just say, well, it's my cyberware malfunctioning, right? There have been bugs. I'm hoping they patch it soon. Now that that's out of the way, we can continue. The other thing I want to do is kind of go through the tips and tricks that you get from most places here in roughly 30 seconds to a minute. So yes, take your time with the game. Yes, explore the world. It is the densest world that has ever been created in any video game. Yes, absolutely take the time and do side quests. These little yellow exclamation points are a lot of the side quests. Yes, if you want to help the police, please do so. If you don't, because that's a thing for you, then don't. I know that was also a big part of a review that was contested, was whether or not to help the police. Personally, I've been helping them out, right? And those are denoted by the little light blue marks here, reported crimes, assaults, things like that, where you can help NCPD. So the other thing I would say that I'm hearing a lot is people saying that they have 100 hours in the game and they don't feel like they've scratched the surface of Cyberpunk. I'm not in 100 hours, but I can tell you I do feel like I've scratched the surface of Cyberpunk, and I do feel like I'm getting close to kind of the end of some things. So it's not as long or as daunting of a game as many may lead you to believe, but also it's not really as much content as others would lead you to believe. So now that we've got the regular tips and tricks and the regular review stuff out of the way, we can get into some of the more detailed ones that I wanted to talk about. All right, tip number one, if the game is making you dizzy to play like it did myself and my wife at first, change up a little bit how you're controlling V and drive them more like you would a car in a racing game. So the first thing I noticed when I started playing is when I would, and we're using controller, is when we would crank the look all the way to the right or all the way to the left, it's very dizzying and hard to get used to, especially if you're sitting real close to your TV or your monitor. Just the spin, it was driving me nuts, and it was a big turnoff. It wasn't until I started driving V by moving the joystick more slightly that it started to get better, and just making that change certainly helped the experience a lot, made it more immersive, that type of thing. But I also wanted to show you if it's bothering you, you can go into the settings, you can go into controls and go to either the controller or the mouse depending on how you're playing, and you can turn the vertical and horizontal sensitivity down so that when you crank the joystick, the look especially, you're not getting that dizzying effect. Now, if you're the twitchiest of twitchy players and you want this thing on Call of Duty first-person rails and you want to be able to just have it be crazy, then by all means turn it up. However, for us, it made the game much more enjoyable just to turn the sensitivity down and or change up how you're controlling the character. Some missions are only available at certain times of day. And if you find yourself stuck in an area where you're trying to complete a mission and it's not the right time of day, it's actually super easy to solve for, but can be missed. So for example, I'm in a mission. If you look on the right side of the screen, it says wait until evening. It is not evening, but I can fix this really easily by going into the start menu or the main menu and skipping time, then picking how many hours I want to skip. So 8:21 p.m., that's in the evening. It happens real fast, and now when I back out, I'm able to continue with the mission. So quick and easy tip if you get stuck on a mission where it's not the right time of day.
I need your help.
Similar to skipping time is skipping distance, and located all over Night City and the Badlands are these quick travel ATMs, is what I like to call them. And you can go to any of them and just walk up to them, go into the ATM, and you can travel to any of these locations on the map, which is quite handy. It also takes away a lot of the travel and the experience of doing the traveling. So I don't use this a lot, but there are times where I want to get to the next spot, and I can look where my quest is, and I can find the closest travel point and travel right there, and I'm right next to where I need to be. Let's talk about how to get Mantis Blades at any time in the game at a legendary level. First, go to Halsey and MLK. It's in the Corpo Plaza part of the map, and I'll show you here. So if I back out a little bit further, you can see I'm in Corpo Plaza on the west side. If I keep zooming in, you're going to look for the Halsey and MLK fast travel point. Once you're there, I'm going to back out, and we literally just need to run around the block. So I'm going to turn left. I'm facing the fast travel point. I'm going to turn left, and I'm going to start running around the block. Alright, once you get to here, you're going to keep moving around the block until you see like a golden gated spot on the right here. And I wanted to show you from the fast travel point because it's hard to find just from the spot on the map. But if you kind of look at the building here, that where the roof of the building looks like a big F, it's on the east side of that building. Now, if you're through the first big mission of the game and where the world is opened up to you more, you should have a side mission at this spot. You may or may not, so I wanted to show you either way. If you haven't done the side mission yet, there'll be a pretty bad dude in here that you don't want to mess with until you're a higher level. But what you do is you just run right into this area. None of those people will be there. And you want to go right about to where this gore is, and there will be a lootable box that will have the Mantis Blades in there at the legendary level. And what's nice about this is you can run in and grab them. It's actually these blades. You can run in and grab them and run out with the Mantis Blades and start using them right away. It's an amazing weapon in the game and super, super fun to use when you're attacking people. Watch out! Dab! Brah! So anyway, that's how to get Mantis Blades. Early on in the game, legendary Mantis Blades that you can use to just own people. Pretty fun. I'm about to get killed. Too many officers down. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is vehicles in the game. Rule number 1, do not buy the first car that is offered to you for purchase. It's a piece of junk, not unlike the one sitting in front of me, and you will spend almost all of your eddies at that point in the game on this car. So do not buy the first car that's offered. More will be offered in minutes in the game. I made that mistake, and thankfully I had a save file I was able to go back to before that purchase. So many cars will be offered for purchase. Don't buy the first one. In fact, you'll even get some for free throughout the game. The next thing I want to talk a little bit about is stealing cars and how to do that. Yes, you can steal various cars in Night City. It just depends on your body statistic or your technical ability statistic. So if the car is being driven, like the car in front of me now, this particular vehicle requires a body statistic of 4 or higher in order to steal. The nicer the car, the higher that statistic will be. If the car is a parked car, it'll depend on your technical ability. So you can steal vehicles to use temporarily, and they're kind of yours until you ditch them or get rid of them. But ultimately you want to build up your garage so that you can have various vehicles to call on at any point. And that requires either doing missions that I won't spoil or purchasing them for eddies. And again, you'll get offered tons of vehicles. I think I'm up to 24 that I've been offered at this point in the game that I can purchase for various amounts, ranging from 200k all the way down to 12 or 13k. Drive motorcycles in the game. This is for a few reasons. One, you can weave in and out of traffic super easy, so it gets quite busy in Night City, and it's nice to have a way where you can go in between the traffic and not be smashing into cars all the time. Two, you actually get to see your character. You spend all that time in the character creator making your perfect V, and you hardly ever get to see them in the game. That's one of the things that bummed me out about the game just a little bit, is how little you get to see your character. So if you're driving around on a motorcycle, you actually get to see what you look like. You get to see what clothes you're wearing. You get to see what your character's face is like. So it offers a little bit more or a little bit greater connection to your character. Plus they drive like a dream. I mean, they corner real easy, they spin real easy. They're just easier to drive than at least any of the cars that I've found. So definitely invest in and drive some motorcycles. Next thing I wanted to talk about regarding vehicles and vehicle settings are the 2 different height settings that you can set in the game. So if I go in here to the menu and I go to gameplay, you'll notice that height from a third-person perspective, I have 2 choices, low or high. If I start with the low version and I back out, you can see my view is behind the car, lower to the ground. What's nice about this one is you can see more of Night City. So it's a really cool view to have most of the time when you're driving around and you really want to enjoy the environment that you're looking at. However, I would highly recommend the high setting, especially when you're racing. So you'll notice I'm set higher behind the car now, and what this does is it allows you to see the markers on the road while you're racing much easier. So take a look at the arrow that is in front of my car on the ground. I can see it much like I would be looking at a marker telling me where to go in a race. But if I go back to the other version, now I can't see that marker. So quick tip, use the different height settings based on your preference, but definitely use the higher setting when you're in car races in the game. There are a lot of different ways that you can approach situations and scenarios in Cyberpunk 2077. There's a ton of different ways you can kill things or take on different tasks or jobs, whatever. However, there are a few perks and items that I would recommend everyone have. They are just quality of life improvements that will make your time in Night City much easier, and you'll be much more effective no matter how you want to play. So some of those are perks that you can get. One, for example, is the Turn to Junk. It's under Technical Ability and then Crafting, and it's one you can get very early on, and it's actually called Scrapper. And what this does for you is anytime you pick up something that's junk, like an ashtray, it will automatically convert that to crafting materials for you. What this does is it passively upgrades your crafting ability and gets you a ton of crafting materials that you can turn around and sell if you get too many, or you can use them to upgrade your gear. In fact, I've done both. The next one I want to talk about is Heal to Full. It's under Body, Athletics, and Epimorphosis. So we go Body, Athletics, and then Epimorphosis. Health regenerates to 100% of max health outside of combat. This is for level 3, so it took 3 points to get to that level. It starts with 70% of your health, I believe, and then goes to 80 and then goes to 100. This saves you a ton of health regenerating items because outside of combat, your health will fully regenerate. It's one I would recommend at least putting 1 point into, if not all 3, to save yourself the items, the health items, but also it's just a quality of life improvement, makes the game easier to play. The other ones I want to talk about are actually cyberware related. So if I go into my inventory and go to cyberware, the first one I want to talk about is ping. And ping is under the operating system. Again, it's one you can get early on, and you can also get upgraded versions of it. But if I find it here, there it is. Ping reveals enemies and devices connected to the local network. So what this does is it allows you to ping the network. I often use cameras for this because I'm disarming them anyway, or other bad guys or bad girls. Is it allows you to ping the network and everything lights up, so you can see where all the enemies are. You can see where all the other connected equipment on the network is, and it makes it much easier to come up with a strategy on how you want to approach something. So having ping is a really good one to have and to consistently use. Another one I would recommend while we're here in the operating system is Whistle. Now, Whistle doesn't work on every enemy, but it'll work on many. And oftentimes you'll run into a situation where there are a bunch of enemies clumped together. And what Whistle does, it allows you to have one of those enemies come over to your position, allowing you to take them out and not cause an alarm or not stir a fuss with the rest of the enemies that are around. So I use Whistle quite a bit, and I would recommend that one as well. The next one I would like to recommend is in the ocular system, and it's the one mod I have here, and it's Threat Detector. This one is super helpful. If you've ever been in a situation in a game where an enemy detects you and you hear the little brrr, you're under attack, but you don't know who's attacking you, what this does is it automatically highlights enemies who have detected you, which makes it way easier to see who it is and deal with them. So I would definitely recommend Threat Detector as well. And then the last quality of life one is probably the hardest to get, or at least the most expensive. It costs about 45,000 eddies, but it's actually, and let me go back in real quick so I can show you where it's at. It's under the legs, and it's reinforced tendons, and it allows you to perform a double jump. This is super helpful, I've found, as long as I've had it, because anytime you go to approach a situation, you can often find ways to vertically attack this situation in a much easier way. So double jump allows you to basically do a double jump like in any other game, but it really helps in approaching situations via stealth, or even if you're not stealth, if you want to be run and gun all the time, it makes it easier to approach from a higher ground anyway. Anakin, I have the high ground. Everyone knows that if you have the high ground, you are the winner. You want to make sure you loot everything in this game, especially early on. It can all be sold. It can all make you eddies. Doesn't matter if it's a cup, an ashtray, does not matter. Loot it. I bet you I bought my first car just from selling junk, just from selling different drinks and beverages that I picked up. If you hit the scan button, it's the left button on controller, it will highlight everything that can be looted. So here's someone that can be looted. There's someone else. But anything that can be looted in the game will have that little icon over it. And you'll even learn which ones show you the rarity of items. So like this white here is a common item, and it goes all the way up to gold for legendary. The next thing I want to talk about is inventory a little bit and stashing items that you may want to keep. So at your apartment and any other place you may call home, or your vehicles in the trunk, there are stashes where you can store items that you don't want to carry on your person. You don't want the extra weight. Maybe it's not something you want to use, but it's something you may want to keep. You can use the stash. However, I have not had good luck with any of the vehicle stash. It doesn't seem to work, or maybe it's a bug. I can't seem to get items in there or out. And the stashes don't seem to talk to each other. So for example, I have items in this stash right here that I can remove or add to, no problem. So if you want to use a stash, try a couple of them, make sure it's one that's working for you. But it's a great way to store things that I probably won't wear, but it's cool to keep, like bunny ears. Another thing not to ignore in the game, and this should be easy because we don't ignore it in real life, but that's your cell phone. Now, often the game will tell you when to use your cell phone, like now I've got to message Regina about a job that I finished. But other times it'll just pop up real quick, or you'll go into your messages and you'll be able to reply to people like this. And often you'll have different options of how you can reply. And some of my favorite story beats in the entire game came from just messaging people through the phone. So don't ignore your cell phone either in real life, or I guess in Cyberpunk as well. Use photo mode. It's another great way to feel connected with your character and with the world of Cyberpunk. Plus, if you're watching this before January 10th, 2021, CDProjektRed is offering a photo mode contest. You need a Twitter account in order to tweet out the photos, but you can submit pictures from the game using the game editor in photo mode about a portrait, an action, or a scene, or all three. You can submit one of each to Twitter and potentially win some really cool stuff. In order to get into photo mode, it's really easy on a controller. You just press in both joysticks and it will bring you right into photo mode. And you can also use the corresponding keyboard shortcut, which I believe is N. Yep, it's the N key.
Good morning, night city, a day in the life. I was on my own, catching a ride with the lady. Her hair hangs down past her thighs, blue and pistol shit, satisfied.
I wanted to say thank you for watching the video. I hope you found at least something in it helpful. The next one I think I want to do is about the hacking system. wow, it took me half the game to figure out how that works. So should have that out in the next couple of days. That was a pretty insane glitch. Did you see that? Should have that out in the next couple of days, and it should be an easy one to make and hopefully be helpful as you try to hack the various systems in Cyberpunk. So enjoy your time in Night City. Thank you for watching, and if you want to subscribe, that would be cool too. Thanks, team. Have a great one. Alright, so a little bit of a bonus tip that Claire here is going to help us with. One thing that I noticed that I kept doing is I would get into a conversation with a character and I would do a lot of this. And it would cause me to miss important parts of the dialogue that I didn't want to miss. So let me tell you what I mean. So I would go to talk to her about something like, want to memorialize a friend. And we would start the conversation, and I would get to a part that was boring. And in order to skip ahead, you can skip phrases by hitting B or whatever the corresponding key is on the keyboard. Every once in a while, though, my character would do this. And it would crouch instead of skipping the dialogue. And then I would start hitting B again, and I would skip parts that I wanted to hear. So the trick is, in order to crouch or fix your crouch when you're in a dialogue, hold B or hold the button, and it will crouch or stand. So if I hold B, see the conversation is still going as it should be, and I'm crouching and standing. If I just tap B, it's skipping ahead.
That's right.
So a little bit of a bonus tip in case, like me, you find yourself doing this during conversations.
It's a danger pretty here in Night City.